Hi everyone, by the way, which foot did you get up on this morning? Left or right? In many European cultures, getting up on the left foot is usually synonymous with being in a bad mood, or when everything that day goes awry, falls to pieces. Therefore, many of us try to get up on the right foot, if, of course, we follow this superstition at all, haven't overslept, and do not jump out of bed in a hurry in the morning. Where did this superstition come from? I cannot give you the exact source or event that led to some kind of hostility towards the left leg, but I can say that even in the times of ancient Rome, there was already a negative attitude towards it. For example, the ancient Roman architect Marcus Vitruvius Pollio, in Book 3, Chapter 4 of his treatise De Architectura, wrote, "The steps on the facade must be installed so that their number is always odd. For since one ascends the first step with the right foot, one must step with the same foot onto the top step of the temple." In other words, he determined that the number of steps on the staircase should be an odd number, based on the fact that one must be ascending it with the right foot, and it must be the first to touch the top step. Thus, the right foot was given the leading role in crossing the space between the staircase and the entrance to the temple. Finally, we can recall set expressions from the English language in which the right leg, especially the foot, has a positive connotation, and the left foot, on the contrary, has a negative one. For example, the idiom "to get off on the right foot," that means to make a successful start, or another hand idiom "to have two left feet," that means to move in a very awkward way when dancing. It seems to me that if the left foot were not specifically treated with disdain, the right foot would be used in these expressions, wouldn't it? In fact, a similar question, with which foot to begin this or that action, because getting out of bed is also an action in which a foot moves from one position and space to another. So which foot to begin movement in space worried the minds of ancient and medieval Japan. For example, in the diaries of aristocrats of the Heian era, one can find specifically made notes that when standing in front of the western staircase, one should put the left foot on the step first. This rule of conduct was written down in the Book of Rites and was followed in Heian era. Incidentally, if a person was standing in front of the eastern staircase, then, according to the Book of Rites, he should step on it with the right foot. As for which foot to get up on the morning, a Japanese doctor who lived in the second half of the 16th, early 17th century named Manasa Gensaku wrote, "Upon waking up in the morning, you should first lower your left foot from the bed, and then there will be happiness and grace in all your affairs." That's he urged to get up in the morning on the left foot. This is a very interesting remark considering the examples I cited earlier from Vitruvius, English idioms, or, in general, our usual perception of this superstition. So why did Manasa Gensaku urge to get up with the left foot? In fact, it was difficult for me to find grounds for this judgment, and nothing came to mind except for the belief among the Japanese, including today, that one should refrain from a sleeping position in which the head's turned to the north. At present, most Japanese lay the body of deceased with the head to the north, so it's not recommended for an ordinary person to sleep with this head in this direction. This belief comes from the image of Buddha lying with his head to the north and facing the west. Let's look at one of the scrolls with his image. First, let's figure out the cardinal directions The Japanese interpretation says that Buddha's head is turned to the north and his face to the west. That the ratio of the sides will be as follows. On the left side of the scroll, north, where the legs are south, the face is west, and the back of his head is east. By the way, such an arrangement of cardinal directions, unusual for us living in the 21st century, where the top is north, are most likely dating back to the geography by Claudius Ptolemy, can also be found on some European medieval maps, such as the T&O map, for example on the Hereford Mappa Mundi, dated around 1300. But let's return to the reclining Buddha. If we look even more closely, we will see that he is lying on his right side, with his right arm bent at the elbow under his head. It's possible that Manasa Gensaku avoided a similar position during sleep, so in contrast, he slept on his left side. At the same time, if you get up in the morning from a position lying on your left side, then naturally the left leg will be the first to touch the floor, since it's closest to it. Perhaps this explains Manasa Gensaku's statements about receiving grace in the case of getting up from the bed with the left leg. In conclusion, I will note that some Buddhist monks, on the contrary, sleep only on the right side. For example, according to the testament of the famous Japanese monk Dogen, sleeping on the left side on the stomach or face up was prohibited. Instead, only the one position was recognized, on the right side. That is all for today. Thank you for your watching, and I'm going certainly be talking to you again soon.